I left school when I was 16 and I got straight into music. With my first wage packet from working in a factory, I bought a guitar, and a few months later I got my first bass, which was a cheap bass. And it reminds me, I actually got one of my bass on HP from the catalogue, which is quite funny. But anyway, I was in all these bands, and when I hit 20, I was in this professional band, and we were doing all the big clubs, big stages, and playing in front of A&R men, and we got a deal, did all these things, and I had no problems in showing up and being a bass player and just getting on stage and being in front of people, and didn't really think about it. I just was too busy doing it, as I said in another video. But somewhere over the timeline, over the next 10, 15, 20 years, I learned, and it was an unconscious thing, I didn't learn it on purpose, but I learned to be overly concerned with what other people think, to the extent that it was actually really crippling. When I used to go near a bass to pick it up, people were like, oh, Steve's going to play, like, you know. And I could sense that, so when I'm going to play, it was difficult, because I'm being, you know, the expectation was just excruciating for me. And I noticed that turning up in other places. I've been to seminars where I'm sitting there being quiet and people are asking questions, and I see them stand up with a microphone, and I just couldn't do that. Or I hope they don't pick me and I have to stand up and say something, those things. And in my early 30s, I was going through the self-development thing like everyone else was doing, and I was studying fear, not studying fear, but I was into the whole fear thing, you know, getting onto like, what's that all about? Instead of just reading and studying about fear, I was doing stand-up comedy, jumping out of airplanes and bungee jumping. I did all those things to, you know, conquer my fears. I'm not afraid, and all these things. But looking back, what I found is we're unconscious. We don't know that we're being affected by how people judge us. And to prove that we're not afraid, we're doing all these other things, like I was, whatever, I was jumping out of planes, and let's say bungee jumping and stand-up comedy, which proves that I'm not afraid and I'm these things. But I wasn't actually doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was avoiding the very one thing that I was supposed to be doing, which is perhaps something like what I'm doing right now. I'm in front of a camera and I'm talking about me, and I should have been doing that with the bass. I was very, very good at bass guitaring, but I wasn't visible to other people. And so the reason for all that, and the reason for this video, is one is because it's helping me develop a skill, what I believe is the #1 skill above everything else that I could teach you about this online stuff and getting out there, and whatever phrase you want to use. The ability to actually just show up is more important than your ability. So you may be really, really good at the thing that you do. You've probably got multiple talents that most people don't really know about, and you know, if you was out there, or if they knew about it, that you could help them. So think about that. The problem is if they knew about you, they'd know how great you were. Why don't they know how great you are? Because you haven't showed them. You're not showing up to show them. How do you show up, Steve? Well, what am I doing? One of the greatest things I can tell you about, if you're watching marketers, or to see what they're doing or they're teaching and stuff, instead of listening to what they're saying, me included, what are they doing? Think about me. I'm sat in front of this camera. I'm sitting on a chair in a garden in front of a camera. That's what I'm doing. That's me. That's what's enabling me to show up and be visible, so you can see me and then you get to know me. And I'll ask, are you doing that? Because if you're not doing that, right, the next step up from this, actually, I'll give you 3 ways. The first way is you can write. If you go to my blog, you see that I write. Okay, so that's one way to show up if you're not comfortable with the camera, which most are not. The second way is this way, or could be audio or video, right? But let's just say it's video. The next one is actually speaking in front of people. That's what they mean about showing up, right? That's the physical version. That's the physical version of showing up. But really, we're talking about this bit. It's really just about you. So if you feel that you're really good at something and people don't know about it, just consider the idea that you're not being visible, right? They can't see you, so they have to see you. And if you're really kind of afraid of getting in front of the camera and doing, say, what I'm doing right here, get your iPhone out or your camera and video yourself for 1 minute talking about anything that you want, with the idea that no one's going to see it except you, and you're not going to post it. And then do one the next day or the day after, and do a few of them, and don't look at them, and then go back and look at them in a week or 2. You might think, whatever, but you'll probably find that they're better than you think. And then you just have to find the courage to go to the next step and just start posting them. So I hope that makes sense, because one of my journeys that I'm doing is that I want to encourage people to show up a bit more. And this is what showing up means. It means just telling a bit more about your story. So just remember, the ability to show up is more important than your ability. See you soon.